Hey everyone, it's Goomy again. Today's video is going to be about the exhibition Prototyping in Tokyo that I mentioned in my last video. The exhibition shows the projects that my professor Shunji Yamanaka created at the lab together with my lab mates, and they mostly experiment a lot with robotics and 3D printing. It ran for 2 months at Japan House in São Paulo and was shipped to LA. The exhibition in LA started today and will run until October, so if you're in the area, definitely go check it out. It'll ship to London later, so there's still another opportunity to see it. I won't spoil you too much, but I'd like to show a few snippets of the kind of stuff that you can see there. The whole idea behind the exhibition is to show the creative process of each project instead of the final product. In other words, there are a lot of prototypes, some which don't work as planned, some with broken bits and pieces, some that look completely different to its previous version, and so on. The whole point is experimentation and finding out what works, what doesn't, what would happen if you made something bigger or smaller, etc. So, without further ado, let me introduce the projects. First is Ready to Crawl. The idea behind the project and the name is that these bug-like robots will be printed out in one piece without needing to assemble anything. You just add the motor to them and they start crawling away. The main part of the design is an internal axis that allows the legs to move in different directions depending on how it's applied to the robots, so you can see various different types of walks and movements that use the same axis. Next, we have Clockoid. Clockoid is a robot that has two different modes, the clock mode and the dynamic mode. Clock mode is pretty much what you'd expect. The robot arms show what time it is, like in an analog clock. However, once it senses that there is someone in the area, it goes into dynamic mode. The arms start moving in circles looking for the person it sensed, and if they move, the robot's arms also move to try to track them. Once they can't sense any people around, the arms circle back and position themselves as a clock again. The next two projects are a continuation of each other. Rabbit and Rami are part of the Prosthetic Limbs project, and they started out as an idea Professor Yamanaka had when he saw runner Saki Takakuwa training at Keio University. He first developed a running-specific prosthetic limb for her called Rabbit, which would take its form into consideration as much as its function. This project eventually developed into Rami, a 3D printed prosthetic leg, and also the project I joined when I went to Japan. Rami then gave birth to a sister project called Mini Rami that I was responsible for, which is a prosthetic leg for children. Apostroph is a robot whose sole objective is to be balanced. It was created based on Manfred Hildt's research, and it was designed to study the behavior of living organisms to counteract gravity. It fights gravity and external forces through various motors in its joints in order to try to lift its body like a human being would. Apostroph constantly overdoes it and falls back into a wheel-like shape after stretching into an arc, but this is all part of its exploration to reach stability and balance. These next pieces aren't one specific project per se, but they all have the same idea. They are experimentations with textures and the limits of 3D printing. What happens if you leave loose powder inside a print? Is there a way to work with transparencies? How can you create the same object with different rigidities and strengths? How far can you take parametric design when working with 3D printers? All these questions created the pieces that you can see and touch in this section. Lastly, we have Archer on a Boat. This automaton was a collaboration between Shunji Yamanaka and master craftsman Shobei Tamaya IX, the only living karakuri doll master in Japan. This automaton was created as a new generation of the classic Archer Boy doll by Hisashige Tanaka. The contemporary automaton has a very sleek and minimalistic feel to it, but the precisely crafted lines, shapes, and movements still give it a presence and a personality that make it clear that even just a suggestion of a face rather than an elaborately crafted one can be enough to convey a story. And that concludes today's video. I hope you get a chance to visit the exhibition because it truly is really interesting and it's really fun to test out the different objects. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you on my next video.